Welcome to the Go Find Out podcast. I'm Jennifer Jelliff-Russell, author, speaker, and entrepreneur, bringing you actionable ideas and interviews with awesome women to help you pursue your dreams and achieve your goals. You can find more episodes of the Go Find Out podcast by visiting gofindoutpodcast.com. Enjoy the show and go find out. Welcome back to Go Find Out, the Career Switch podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Jelliff-Russell, and this is episode number 76. Today, I'll be interviewing Marie Incontrera about her journey from musical composer to successful consultant. But first, let's jump into my personal update. Hello, you awesome career switchers. It has been a hectic last 2 months. I was able to wrap up my client projects in UX UI design, which was really fun, and I built out my online portfolio to showcase the thought process behind each project. I actually just finished my first week of job applications, and I have some interviews lined up for this next week. So things are moving pretty quickly. And this is actually the part that I was really looking forward to, since this is like kind of my jam coming from an employment services background. So there might also be something wrong with me, but I really enjoyed the job search process. Not necessarily the application part. I don't love having to input information over and over again, but I do love searching for roles and reading job descriptions and like imagining myself in the role. That is something that I find kind of fun. I know, there's definitely something like not quite right with me. However, I have been so focused on working on my client projects and then starting the application process that I haven't actually carved out time in my day to write. Between the job search process and handling our small veggie farm, I may have to put off getting back into writing for a little bit longer. Now, I do intend to still publish another set of scary stories for kids in time for Halloween, though. So I just need to start, at least brainstorming those and kind of getting ideas onto paper. That may be the only book that I published this year, though. I'm definitely not hitting my goal of publishing 3 to 4 books this year. I might have kind of burned myself out a little bit by writing and publishing 4 books last year, plus the teaser short story for Blissful Awakenings. Whoops. But, I just might have to reevaluate my publishing goals once I start a new full-time job. I'm thinking 1 to 2 books a year while working full-time should be sufficient. I'm actually really looking forward to taking more time to write each book rather than cranking them out just to publish a certain number of books every year. I know there's the whole, 20 books to 50K thing, but if I have a full-time position that is bringing in enough money to live on, then I don't have to actually worry about making money for my books. I can just write them out of, love of writing instead. Having that job in UX will allow me to worry less about that money and give me more peace of mind to give more time to each book. So, if you're inclined, I would love some good vibes about landing a great job. All right, that's enough about me. Let's hear about Marie Incontrera and how they got into consulting. Today, I'm speaking with Marie Incontrera, who owns and operates Incontrera Consulting, where she offers services such as social media and online branding for individuals and small businesses, TEDx talk development, media bookings, and book launch services. But Marie didn't start out in this field. Their background is actually in music composition, and today we'll be talking about their journey from being a composer to getting into consulting. So welcome to the show, Marie.
Thank you so much for having me, Jennifer.
Yeah, I'm super stoked to talk with you. But before we kind of dig into everything, can you tell me a little bit more about your background as a composer?
Yeah, absolutely. So I went to school for classical and jazz composition, and I graduated with a master's in music composition and had a career as a composer and a band leader. I mostly wrote big band music and opera.
Ooh, that's really cool.
Thanks.
Yeah. And so just out of curiosity, when you wrote the opera, were you writing the music and like the lyrics as well?
So for opera, no, for the most part, I was either taking, public domain source material or working with a writer of some sort, usually, somebody who was well-versed in writing lyrics for opera, right? Because that's a pretty specific thing. Sometimes I did write my own stuff, for in school and things like that. But once I started doing professional work, I'm not a lyric writer. So
I gotcha. That's awesome though. And so when did you first start like considering making a shift into a new field?
Well, so I worked as a full-time musician for about 10 years.
Hmm.
And I had decided to bring my band. I had a 15-piece big band in New York. We were an avant-garde big band. We were a noise big band. We kind of did a lot of experimental stuff. And so we were like if you wanted a very specific kind of sound, you had to come to us. That was kind of
Mm.
the thing. And it was a really fun a few years of running that band. And I decided to put us on in Carnegie Hall. And
Ooh.
so I rented one of the spaces in Carnegie Hall and planned the whole thing. And let me tell you, it was a very expensive night. um,
But sounds amazing.
yeah, it was awesome. And then I kind of woke up the next day and said, yeah, this isn't it. I need to take a break. So the there's a TED talk, and the name of the person escapes me, which I feel bad because it's a wonderful TED talk, where she says, have you ever woken up and realized that the ladder to your success has been standing against the wrong wall? And that
Ooh.
was really how it felt. And so I kind of just, I burned out and said, okay, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to take a nice break. I'm going to take a month. And then
Hmm.
a month turned into 2 months, and 2 months turned into 6 months, and 6 months turned into a year. And I had also started my business in Contrera Consulting, which was really starting to take off, and I was starting to make money for the first time in my life. Because the thing they don't tell you in music school is that you could be playing Carnegie Hall and also be broke, which I was.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just said, okay, I'm going to take time off, and I did. And I just kind of put all of that energy into the business, and the business really started to grow.
When you first started to actually start your own consulting company or your consulting business,
Mhm.
um, did you have any fears while you were doing that?
Well, it's funny. I look back and I say, wow, I can't believe I did that. I could have starved. I could have really, really crashed and burned. But the truth was that I was coming home with $15,000 a year as a musician
Hmm.
after all my expenses, after, paying band members and, doing all the projects and everything like that. My, my take home was very, very small. So it almost felt like, well, I really have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, I started with a couple of clients, and one of my very good friends who's a business owner, a business coach, and a business author said to me, I think you would be good at some of these aspects. Why don't you try it? I'll help you get your first couple of clients and you see how you like it. And right away, I was making more money. So it didn't feel scary at the time. But when I look back, I say, I can't believe I made that leap.
Yeah. And if you don't mind me asking, what was your first consulting what were your first consulting clients like looking for? Like I guess what kind of consulting services did you provide for them?
Yeah, absolutely. So at first, it was just regular kind of virtual assisting kind of
Hmm.
stuff. So it tended to be a little random. There was a little bit of, oh, can you do some emailing for me, or can you do my Mailchimp? Can you post, write up 10 tweets for me? Eventually, people started to come to me for the same things, and at first they were social media and podcast outreach,
Mm-hmm.
right? So getting a client booked on a podcast, and then eventually it was the TEDx, helping a client get booked on a TEDx stage.
Nice. That's awesome. And so I'm assuming, spending so much time in the music industry, I can only assume that you surrounded yourself with, other musical like-minded people. And so, did you have any naysayers when you first decided to start kind of shifting into consulting?
Oh, absolutely. A lot of my colleagues, my musical colleagues, really didn't understand.
Mm.
I think they still don't understand. I received a group text messages from a few of my former bandmates who, this was very recently, this was about a week ago, who ended up on a gig
Ooh.
together, and they sent me a picture of the three of them, and they said, "Oh, we miss you." And I realized that, like, to them, I seem to have dropped off the face of the earth, right? Because I
Right.
just kind of stopped doing jazz, stopped doing, a very specific kind of music. And I don't know that they understand now even, but sometimes what you have to do is just go a different path.
Yeah. No, that makes total sense. And on that path, what would you say has been kind of the biggest hurdle so far?
Um, The biggest hurdle for me has been, well, it was kind of suppressing my creativity into something else, and
Mm,
suppressing is the wrong word, right? But definitely channeling my creativity into a different endeavor was very, very hard in the
mhm,
beginning. And then eventually I kind of got used to it, right? So now, now the difficulty that I have is making time for everything, right? Because I'm kind of in this place where my business is thriving and doing amazing things, and I'm also kind of back into the creative side.
that's cool. And so you do find ways, it sounds like, to channel that creativity now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice. And so do you feel like you have any particular habits that have helped you find success in consulting?
uh well, yes, I mean, staying open, being willing to see what the market wants from you,
Mm,
because a lot I've been in this situation where I think people are going to want one thing and it turns out they want another.
mhm.
Right, and so just kind of staying open and really understanding, like, the version of success you think is going to happen in your head, it probably isn't going to happen,
Right.
and it's probably going to look very differently, and being open to that, I think, is very important.
So kind of pivoting and
Yeah.
trying different methods, not methods, but different things that you consult on.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice, nice. And I have to mention, so I see that you assist authors with book launches.
Mhm.
Is that like any kind of authors, like self-published, or they have to be traditionally published, or?
I work with everybody. I've worked with traditionally published people. I've worked with self-published authors. Book launches are my favorite thing because they
Mm,
are creative. You stay on your toes. It's never a dull moment when somebody's putting a book out in the world.
mm.
So in a lot of ways, it feeds the creative drive.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm a self-published author, so I'm always like,
Nice.
"Oh, that is pretty cool," because there's not a lot I feel like of services out there that truly assist you with book launches. So that's really awesome that you do that.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm also self-published,
Oh, cool.
and I just find that the model is so great because you have a lot of flexibility in the
Yes.
way that you wouldn't have with a traditional publisher.
Yes, yes. And then you also have all the control over it too. It's wonderful.
Exactly.
So now you also wrote and produced a film on
Mhm.
Amazon, which sounds awesome, called A Very Queer Holiday. Can you
Mhm.
tell us about how that opportunity came about and like what it was like to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So funny story, right before the pandemic, and I'm talking like January 2020, um, my partner Megan and I decided that we were going to move into a three-bedroom with our best friend Diane.
Mm.
And we had no idea why we wanted to do this, but I think something was propelling us. um, and we sort of had a few ideas that we had been kicking around. Oh, it would be really fun to do this project or that project. And we decided to move in together, and then COVID happened
Mm.
in February of 2020. And thank goodness, because it was very, very healthy for my relationship because, we had a friend,
Yes,
right? And,
right.
and, so the three of us basically quarantined together. We had friendship, we had, camaraderie, we had, you know, just a really great experience together, even during this very, very scary time. And
Hmm.
one of the things that we did was we started to work on a couple of creative projects.
Nice.
I also have since come back around and started writing musical theater. Um,
Oh.
so I was getting involved in the creative stuff again, even though it looks very, very different. But Diane and Megan and I started kicking around some of our screen ideas. And Megan, my partner, is she has a film degree, so she was able to kind of help us gel some of our fun ideas that we had, and enable us to basically stop joking around about it and actually write it.
That's so
Right.
cool.
So, and we joined a few groups that were, doing pandemic projects, and one of them was socially isolated script readings. They were a Facebook group, and every week you could sign up to have your script read. So that was how we started getting our work heard,
Ah.
and we actually started with a TV concept called Two Anxious Bisexuals, and we had that read and we loved it. We were so excited. We did a few performances of it on Zoom.
Oh, cool.
And then one night we were just all sitting around, and Diane really loves Christmas movies.
Hmm.
And I said, what if we wrote a Christmas movie? And then I took all the actors that we had already worked with, and I was like, okay, so this person is the main character, and then this person is the uncle, and this person is the father, and all of a sudden we had a story.
That's awesome.
And so we're actually looking to shoot. So we did a Zoom table read. It's on Amazon Prime. You can watch it.
Mm.
And we're actually looking to shoot it as a feature film now.
Ooh, that's so cool.
Thanks. Yeah, it's been a really fun project. And if we shoot it in time, it'll be the very first holiday romantic comedy with trans and non-binary romantic leads.
Oh man, that would be great. That's so neat.
Thank you.
And so, to kind of pull it back, there are so many things that you clearly are interested in, right? It sounds to me like you're a multi-passionate creative, which is something we talk about a lot on this show, actually. And many times I, encourage listeners to really pursue their passions. But one of the topics that multi-passionate creatives tend to struggle with is finding focus long enough to actually, finish a project or complete a goal. So would you have any advice for multi-passionate creatives on this, on how to, finish a project or a goal?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So the biggest advice that I can say is that know that there is going to be downtime, right? The work when you're creative comes in waves, right? So as an example, we didn't work on anything to do with Queer Holiday for about 3-4 months at the beginning of the year. And then all of a sudden the opportunities started to roll in. And, what I tend to do, especially when I'm juggling several projects, which I am right now, I know that I have to, I may have to put something else on the back burner to give this project the attention that it needs. So it really is about staying open, and also knowing, make sure you do go back to those projects that are on the back burner.
No, I think that's really good advice. I think it's very easy to get caught up in, it should just be done. I should just be able to finish it. Yes. And what advice would you give to other women out there who are thinking about starting a business as a consultant?
Stay open, learn what the market wants from you. That's really, really important. Because, I've seen so many people, quote unquote, fail at their business, at their idea, at their startup, because they just didn't pivot. They didn't listen to what, their potential clients, their potential ideal clients wanted from them, and they might have spent 50, 60, 70, $100,000 marketing an idea that nobody wants.
Right.
And then it's very, very hard to come back from that. So, thinking with, learner's mindset, being willing to pilot things, being willing to try and say, okay, this didn't work, I'm going to pivot, is really, really important. And I think has been the difference between, being able to run a successful business and not, for me.
No, I think that's such good advice. And you're right. It's so important to be open and being willing to change for whatever the market is demanding.
Yeah.
And so now where can we learn more about you and your consulting services?
So my website is incontrera.com. You can learn more about me there. You can find me on LinkedIn, and it kind of just shows off a little bit of the team, shows off a little bit of what we do, of what I do, etc.
Nice. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today, Marie.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
It was really great interviewing Marie and hearing how they found a balance for using their creativity to inform their consulting business while also doing more creative projects on the side. Re-listening to her interview during the editing process, something that really struck me was the reminder that creativity comes in waves. As I mentioned in my intro, I still haven't been writing lately. As someone who calls themselves a writer, it feels somewhat disingenuous to continue calling myself that when I'm not actively writing. I also feel this huge sense of guilt when I'm not writing. Honestly, I always imagine my characters just sort of sitting around in limbo, waiting for me to get back to them and write the next book. It was a nice reminder that I don't need to feel bad for having some downtime from writing. I'm sure that I'll jump back in soon to work on the next book. I'm just waiting for that next wave of creativity to hit, I guess. And it seems that it's okay to take a break from it. It'll come back eventually. And so if you, like me, are giving yourself a hard time because you've stepped away from something to either refill your creative well or because it's just not coming to you as naturally as it previously did, just know that that's okay, that it's okay to take a break. All right, that's our show for today. Until next time, go find out. Thanks for listening to the show today. I hope you found the information beneficial and that it helps you tackle your own Go Find Out goals. You can find more episodes and the show transcripts at gofindoutpodcast.com. You can also let me know what you thought of the show by tweeting me at GFOpodcast or follow me on Instagram at GoFindOutPodcast. That's it for today. Now go find out.